Hey, it's Corey with Blue Falcon Board Gaming. If you're new to the channel, Blue Falcon Board Gaming is a group that I started in the Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia tri-state area with the hopes of using board games to promote positive mental health, as well as making board games more accessible to the community by hosting and co-hosting events. Today, I get to interview Mondo Davis. Mondo, welcome.
Hey, thanks so much. Pleasure to be on. Appreciate it.
So let's start it out with, you want to kind of give an introduction of who you are, maybe first outside of the board game community. Is there anything you want to share as far as part of the country that you're in, profession, anything like that?
Sure. Yeah. So I am a board game designer, but my full-time job is I'm a teacher in a high school here in Atlanta, Georgia, where I live, just outside Atlanta. I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri, but I've been in Georgia for the last 15 years or so. I live out here with my wife and my two daughters. I've got a soon to be 5-year-old and a 8-month-old baby. So, we're living it up, but yeah.
Yeah, my daughter just turned 5 back on the 5th. So
oh, nice. That's awesome.
Times went by quick.
Yes. Yeah. They turn into little humans somehow.
Yeah. So what got you into board games in general? Did you always kind of play growing up, or was it something you found later on in your adult life?
Yeah, I played a lot of the games that most people my age from my part of the world played as a kid, but I didn't really get into the hobby until I actually started designing games. In 2015, I tried to design a board game and was not really familiar with modern hobby board games of that whole world, that whole community. And through designing, I got connected to it. And that was whatever that was, almost 7.5 years ago of being all about board games. But typically people are into board games and then they decide that they want to try to design one. But I came in the opposite direction. So it was a fun little crash course in what was out there.
So what kind of kicked that off? Was it just like out of the blue, you're like, hey, I want to design a game, or were you just kind of talking with friends or, colleagues or anything like that and just took it as a challenge? Or
yeah, so there's this old computer game that I used to play called Escape Velocity, which was a space simulator kind of pick up and deliver game that I played on my old Mac OS system when I was a kid, and it's a game that, because it's from an old system, it's no longer available. So I was just kind of thinking about that game, like sort of lamenting the fact that I couldn't play it, couldn't like revisit that childhood memory, and thought to myself, I wish somebody would make a board game of it. That could be fun to play a board game version of it. And then just decided to try my hand at it. So it was an attempt to bring back a bit of nostalgia.
Nice. So I was reading your bio here on BGG, and it's got that you were first runner-up in the 2019 Geekway Design Contest. Do you want to talk about that, since you said that you were from St. Louis? Because me and all of my buddies, we are super excited for Geekway this year.
Oh, yeah.
We bought tickets as soon as they dropped last week.
Awesome. Yeah, I wish I was closer. I love the gaming community in St. Louis. I actually just got to go to Stonemeyer Design Day for the first time in October, I guess that was. But yeah, the Geekway is a great convention. It's one of my favorite, smaller cons, with smaller in quotations, because it's not a small con, but it's I think considered to be compared to the Gen Cons and the Origins and stuff like that. But the design contest was put on by a publisher who, in the first place prize was a guaranteed publication deal with the winning game. So I ended up not winning, which was beneficial because I was able to kind of take the game and shop it around and find a publisher that was a better fit than that publisher would have been. And there's nothing wrong with that publisher, but it's the type of games that they make are just not quite what this game was. So yeah, it was a good opportunity to sort of get some to get a lot of play test feedback, a lot of it's like there's a set of judges and they're like telling you what they think about it and what they would change, and so it's very like kind of intense hands-on feedback, which was really great, and I appreciate it. But then yeah, it was just kind of the beginnings of something special with that game. I was able to get it signed within a couple months after that convention, and now it's coming out on Kickstarter in this quarter of this year. It's called Color Field, and it's going to be out on 25th with 25th Century Games, hopefully by the end of the winter. But we don't have a date yet. But
nice.
It's been a fun journey.
What's gameplay look like, if you can discuss that?
Yeah, sure. So it's a tile laying game where you're making an abstract painting. Basically, you have 6 tiles that have different colors on them, and you're trying to match the colors on the sides of the tiles with the other tiles that are adjacent to it. You play over 3 rounds, and you switch out tiles and try and maximize the color matching, by which you score points and try to score the most points across the 3 rounds. But it's very thinky. Like I like it because it's a easy to play and understand. But then when you actually get into like making the puzzle work, it's just that process is complex and really satisfying when you can kind of solve it and get the right tile and the right piece. But one thing I love about it is my wife is the illustrator of the game. She illustrated my prototype. She's a professional watercolor artist. And she illustrated the prototype that I took the Geek Way, and the artwork was just so good that 25th Century Games signed the artwork with the game, which almost never happens for unsigned prototype artwork.
Right.
So her final artwork is going to be on the final version, which we're really excited to get out there.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Have you got any other games that you've designed that are already out, or that you're also kind of working on to get published?
Yeah, I've got 9 under contract currently, none of which are at retail yet. Colorfield will be one of the first. The other one is Mansplaining, which is hopefully going to be due out before the spring. That's a party game that I co-designed with Fortessa Elise. And that, like I said, that should be within the next couple months. It should be hitting retail stores. Besides that, there's 7 others that are in various degrees. Hopefully all of them will be out within the next year to 2 years, but timelines in designing and publishing are often kind of hard to nail down. So there's a lot of variables,
right.
but that's my expectation, is that'll be the case.
Yeah, especially with everything, all the craziness that's happened over the last 2.5 years with shipping and production and all of that kind of stuff.
Of course, yeah.
So you mentioned Mansplaining, and you designed it with the other individual. You guys both have a really big TikTok following too. What's that been like as far as trying to bring the hobby out to TikTok more? Because you've got like 46,000 followers on TikTok. It's just crazy to me.
Yeah, it's been a fun journey. I've been doing it I'm coming up on 2 years on TikTok, and I think when I started there weren't a ton of accounts on there that were making a lot of consistent board game content. I mean, there were accounts, and there were some that are much bigger than me, and some really talented people on there. But as far as board game design content, there wasn't much on there. And I've been very engaged in different social media platforms around game design. Like the community of game design is something that I really cherish and try to participate in. So I've been in Facebook groups, and I've been in Twitter groups, or interacted over Twitter and Instagram, and getting on TikTok and seeing that didn't exist. I figured I'd try to step into that space and see if I could start to foster some kind of community around design specifically. And it has really grown into something really cool. It's been fun because, like I said, there was only maybe 1 or 2 accounts that talked about board game design when I got on there, but now there's dozens of folks that are documenting their journeys of designing games, folks maybe that are on the publishing side, folks that have been publishing or designing for a long time and have a lot of successful titles, and people that are just starting out, like the whole spectrum of kind of that process. So it's been really fun and rewarding just to develop like the relationships that I have through that. And yeah, the growth is fun, but it really is nice to feel like I've got kind of all these friends that I've been able to get to know through TikTok.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, it's one of the great things with board games is just the relationships that you build. I mean, just this last weekend, a bunch of us got together and went to Ravenwood Castle in Ohio. It's just like this older castle that was built like late 80s, early 90s.
Cool.
And they basically turned it into like a little Airbnb type deal.
Cool.
But it's beautiful out there. But there was a group of 10 of us that got together. And one of the guys, he flew out from Colorado to come. And I actually met him at Geekway last year.
Oh, nice.
We both volunteered a ton and stuff, and shared a lot of the same shifts, got to talking, and then when we weren't volunteering, we were like, hey, let's grab something out of the library here, play. So we played all weekend with each other, and then since then we stayed in contact and played on BGA, and just like, hey, you want to go to this? He's like, yeah, I'll fly out. Why not? So it's like, I have no other reason to fly somebody, or not me fly, but like have somebody fly out from Colorado whenever I'm in Ohio just to hang out for a weekend.
Well, I think it's cool. It's so cool because, like, when you talk about just the state of just being an adult, right? Like, it's really hard to be an adult and make friendships and have friends, especially, in my case where I'm married and I have kids and I have a full-time job. And, like, to have something like board games that is a medium by which, like, people can really connect and really share that passion and gather together in person and do stuff. It's really cool. Like, I don't think that there are many outlets for friendship and for relationship between grownups, especially between men. I think that that's something that is hard, just because we're not conditioned necessarily as much. I mean, I'll just say that I wasn't conditioned to really pursue and value male friendships. So, like, having a medium like board games where I have to have other people to play with, like, I can't enjoy board games by myself as much. It's just been really sweet. Like, it's been this really sweet kind of development in my life of, like, feeling like I've got a strong group of friends who are not all male, but, friends that we share in each other's lives, and we're close to one another, and we do things like, fly and meet in an Airbnb in Ohio just because we love board games and we want to spend time together. So I do love games for that. And it's one of the reasons I love designing is because I really appreciate the opportunity to create situations and environments and space for relationships to develop over board games, because I think it's a really beautiful community builder that doesn't really have much of an equivalent in my kind of world and consciousness. So, that's awesome. I'm with you 100%.
Yeah. And I mean, we had other people that were staying there at the castle too, just jump in on our games. Like,
awesome.
Amanda, Christian, if you guys are watching, we appreciate you. They played like probably over the course of the weekend, they probably jumped in with us for about 10 to 12 hours. Cause I mean, we were going from like breakfast to midnight.
Wow.
And they were just like checking out the library that we were playing in. They were like, oh, that looks cool. We're like, jump in. And they just hung out the rest of the day with us and then met up with us again the next day. So
that's awesome. Yeah.
It's like you can't do that with any other hobby, really.
Right. Well, and I mean, it's like there's just barriers of entry to every hobby. But if you think about, like, video games, like, playing video games isn't something that you have to do in person. Like, you don't have to be in the same room. So that, like, kind of physical proximity that board games offers just doesn't exist. Something like sports, like, lots of people connect over sports, but again, that's a high barrier of entry if you're not interested in sports, or you're not, you don't play sports or whatever. Like, I feel like you can jump into something like board games a little bit more easily than some of the other type of hobby things that exist,
So what are some games that you've played recently that's kind of stuck out to you?
Yeah, so I've been getting to play a lot of new stuff recently, which has been cool. I've played Wormholes, which is the new one from AEG, designed by Pete McPherson, who designed Tiny Towns. That one's pretty fun. It's a pick up and deliver game where you're traveling across space, but you're putting down wormholes that you can jump through. So you're like, initially you can't get very far, but then by the end of it, you're just like combining, all these wormholes to move across the map and drop off your cargo and have these really big turns. So that one is pretty fun in the way it escalates. I've been enjoying that. Otherwise, let me think. I've been playing a lot of Fantasy Realms, which is a classic. WizKids just did a re-release of it, which is really fun. If you haven't played that, it's awesome. It's really solid. The hand management.
I think I prefer Star Realms over it just a little bit more.
Sure. Yeah, I haven't played that, so I'll have to give that a shot.
I like it better as an app. It's a good app type
Okay.
game, just where it's a deck builder.
Yeah.
I usually prefer deck builders on the app as opposed to like physical.
Yeah, all the
There's
shuffling.
So much shuffling. Yeah.
Right. Makes sense. How about you?
So over the weekend, the ones that really stuck out to me, played Dead of Winter for the first time. That one was
Okay.
really fun.
Yeah.
I think it could be group dependent and stuff too, but we had a really good group that played Paint the Roses. Paint the Roses is a solid little logic puzzle game.
Yeah. I
So it's
played that a couple months ago. That's actually Weird Giraffe, right? Is that no, that's Gift of Tulips. Never mind. Sorry, that's a different publisher.
Yeah, no, this is the Alice in Wonderland theme one, and you're laying down the tiles, and everybody's got like a secret mission card, and they have to provide clues without actually saying like, "Hey, it's either the color and the color matches, or the shape and the shape, or the color and the shape." But it was really good. We did Blood on the Clock Tower. That was a fun one. It's like One Night a Werewolf on steroids. So
Nice.
that was a fun one. And it was getting late too, and we were going around, and one of the ladies there that was playing with us, I was like, all right, like he said that he's this, they said this, blah blah blah. No one's said their roles yet, so I'm like, what role do you have? And she was like, oh, the Scarlet Woman. And then the person next to her was like, wait, what? Like, we're voting her. She's obviously, that's one of the demons. So it ended after 4 rounds, 5 rounds or so, just because of that. But
yeah.
we had a blast, just communicating and accusing everybody of being the demon.
Sure, that's awesome.
So as of right now, what would be your top 5 games that you would recommend to people?
My top 5 games are Sagrada, Bunny Kingdom, Terraforming Mars, Blood Rage, and here I've forgotten my last one. How about my top 4?
That'll work.
That'll
work.
Oh, Tiny Towns. It's Tiny Towns. Those are my top 5. Yeah.
Yeah, I think right now
go ahead.
I think right now I'd have to say Scythe, Parks, Paint the Roses, Australia from Stronghold Games, and what else do I got over here that I've played a lot? Probably just good old Carcassonne too.
Nice, yeah. Can't go wrong with
that.
We
played it again over the weekend, and I had a doubles. I had 2 sets that I bought and just made it into one big one. So we just had a huge town. Took a lot longer than we expected, but it was pretty solid at 5 players with 2 sets going.
Yeah, it's awesome. Mega Carcassonne. Yeah, I tend towards kind of lighter, like Gateway Plus games. That's typically what I design as well. So most of mine, except for Terraforming Mars and Blood Rage, are kind of the 2 that are heavier. That's about as heavy as I get. So, and those aren't even that bad, But
yeah,
right.
Is there anything that you want to leave people with as far as why they should be playing board games?
I think we hit it. The community building of it is something that I really cherish. I love opportunities to just sit down with people and have a genuine shared experience that is not forced or uncomfortable or awkward. So all about that for sure. Yeah, I love board games. Board games are great. Yeah.
Yep. Anything you want to plug before we jump off?
Sure, yeah. So I mentioned my upcoming Kickstarter for Color Fields. You can find that on the 25th Century Games website. Mansplaining as well. Like I said, we'll be going straight to retail within the next couple months. Breaking Games is the publisher for that. So if anybody wants any more information, they can find those publishers. My stuff's at Games by Mondo on TikTok. I promote my stuff there as well. And if I should mention that I think that people need to get on Board Game TikTok. Yes. We got a really cool thing going over there. It's been really fun to see that community grow, and I think people are. I don't know, just like really, really into it, and it feels like a small, tight knit community in a lot of ways. So, if any of your listeners are not on TikTok, I highly recommend it. There you go.
Alrighty, I appreciate the time. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.